Hello, welcome back to Keep It Real, the podcast that get honest about life, love, and everything in between. I'm your host Owin, and today we are diving into one of the most talked about but often misunderstood, relationship topics: red flags. We all think we'd spot, the warning signs, but the truth is, many of us don't. We dismiss them. We explain them away or hope they'll change. So today we are going to look at, what red flags are, why we ignore them, how to tell the difference between a rough patch, and a real problem, and how to act early before things get damaging. Let's keep it real. Some of this might hit close to home, and that's okay. That means you are learning. Let's get into it. Red flags are early warning signs that a person might not be emotionally safe or capable of a healthy relationship. They aren't about someone being flawed. We all are. They are about patterns that usually lead to pain, conflict, or toxicity if left unchecked. Some common red flags, are disrespecting your boundaries, lack of accountability, controlling behavior making you doubt, your reality, love bombing early on, flawed by, inconsistency, jealousy, disguised as passion, poor communication, or emotional manipulation, or it could be unresolved past relationships. Here's the thing, red flags don't always look dangerous at first. They can look like passion, confidence, or intensity. But real love doesn't come with confusion or fear. Let's get honest. Why do we let red flags slide? Let me pause there. Why, do we let red flags slide? Hope and potential. Maybe they are going through a rough time or a tough time right now. I can help them change. Chemistry confusion. That magnetic pull doesn't always mean compatibility. Intensity can feel like love, but it can also be trauma bonding. Fear of being alone. We convince ourselves it's not that bad because being alone feels scarier than staying in something uncertain. Low self-worth. If deep down we believe we don't deserve more, we'll tolerate less. Normalizing dysfunction. If you grew up around unhealthy dynamics, you might not recognize certain behavior as red flags. Time already invested. The longer we stay, the harder it feels to leave. We hope the return, on investment will be worth it. Red flags are often ignored, not because we don't see them, but because we are not ready to deal with what they mean. Right, so I'm going to share a story, and I'm going to give this person's name Yasmin. Now, Yasmin met someone who swept her off her feet. He was charming, attentive, texting all day, planning future trips early. She felt chosen, she felt special. But a few weeks in, he started criticizing how, she dressed. Then came subtle jabs at her friends. He blew up over small things, then apologizing and say, "I just love you so much." Have that resonate with you? Well, she felt like she was walking on eggshells, but told herself no one's perfect. Her friends voiced concerns, she brushed them off. Eventually, she found herself anxious all the time. She started losing herself, her voice, her peace, even her confidence. Now, these are things that red red flags cause. It wasn't until she journaled, started to journal stuff every time something felt off that she realized she'd ignored too many red flags. Leaving, was hard, but she said, the moment I choose peace over potential, I started healing. Well done, Yasmin. How do you catch red flags early and act on them? Pay attention. Pay attention to your body. Anxiety, gut feeling, discomfort. Your nervous system often knows before your mind accepts it. Write things down. Journal behaviors that feels off. When you see patterns on paper, it's like, stats. It becomes harder to deny. Set and hold boundaries. Watch how someone reacts when you say no or when you assert your needs. That response tells you everything. Listen to loved ones. They look out for you as well. If multiple people who care about you see the same issues, pause. Consider that they might be right. They might be wrong sometimes. Don't excuse repeated harm. Everyone makes mistakes, but repeated behaviors, especially when you are, communicating, are no longer mistakes. They are choices. Choose peace over potential. You don't need someone to be perfect, but you do need them to be safe, respectful, and emotionally consistent. Red flags aren't just about others. They are how much we honor our own intuition. The sooner we stop ignoring what feels wrong, the sooner we start building relationships, that feels right, that feels good, that are healthy. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Keep It Real. If something in today's episode made you think differently or help you feel seen, share it with someone you care about. I would suggest that. And if you haven't already subscribed, please leave a positive comment. It helps more people to find these real conversations. Next week, we are unpacking emotional intimacy versus physical intimacy. What we get wrong. Don't miss it. Until next time, trust yourself, protect your peace, and always keep it real.